Good morning, fifth graders. Today we are continuing with our geometry unit and we are going to start learning how to find area. So today we are specifically going to focus on determining the area of parallelograms. So first we have to think about what is area. Area is the number of square units needed to cover a surface or figure. So here we have two different rectangles. And the question is, how many squares make up each shape? That will tell us the area. So I could count each and I could say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This square has 9 square units. I can count this one too. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This rectangle has 10 square units. That's the area of each of these rectangles. Sometimes instead of doing that, instead of counting each one, we might have larger numbers. So we use a formula. Area equals base times height. The base is the length at the bottom, and then the height is how tall that rectangle is. And now when we use a rectangle, we don't have to worry about what the base and the height are because we can always see the base on the bottom and then the height along the side, and all rectangles already have right angles on each corner, a 90-degree angle. The reason we might want to use the formula instead of counting each one is because if you look at this rectangle right here, that's quite a bit to count. So instead what we can do is say, well, how many squares are there on the base? There are 4. And how many in the height? And then I just get to count these and find there are 8. Now that I have my base and my height, I can plug it into our formula. Area equals base times height, which is 4 times 8 in this case. So it would be 32 square units. The area of this rectangle is 32 square units. Now parallelograms look a little bit different than rectangles. But when we're finding the area of parallelograms, we use the same formula. Base times height. Area equals base times height, or little b times little h. The one thing we have to be careful of with parallelograms is that we make sure that we're using the base and the height that are perpendicular. So what that means is they make a right angle, a 90-degree angle. In this parallelogram right here, you can see that there are 3 different measurements. When we are finding the area and we're doing base times height, the base is going to be one of our sides, and it's going to be the side that is perpendicular or forms a right angle with the height. So in this case, where we see this right angle symbol, that's what's going to show us where the base and the height are. 8 centimeters is our base, this line. 4 centimeters is our height. It is the distance from this line to the opposite line in our parallelogram. We are not using the 7 at all because this angle right here is acute and right here it's obtuse. So we're not using that 7. We are only using the perpendicular lines. 8 is our base, 4 is our height. So again, if we plug that into our formula, the base is 8, the height is 4, 8 times 4 is 32 centimeters squared, because this one says centimeters squared. You might hear it read centimeters squared, but when you see it written, you often are going to see a little 2 up here. The reason we call it squared is because we're measuring 2 dimensions, the base and the height. So there's a little squared right here, just like it was units squared. So in the past one, we saw all of our squares that fit inside of it. So now it's going to be your turn to do a couple in your notebook with me. So pause the video, get out your math notebook, open up your table of contents, and write what you see right here. Now that you have it written in your table of contents, go ahead and open up to your next blank page. And you're going to need to write problem and work and draw your line down the middle. Once you have written those, I want you to also draw this picture of this parallelogram. So it's just like a slanted rectangle. Do your line at the top and the bottom, and then connect them with diagonal lines, and then go ahead and make a dash line straight down that is perpendicular just like I did with the right angle symbol, and label each of the lengths that are here. So pause the video and draw this parallelogram. Once you're done drawing, unpause it to see how we can solve this problem. Okay, so if we're trying to find the area of this parallelogram, the first thing you're going to do every single time is always write the formula. I just showed you the formula. It's area equals base times height. So on your work side, I want you to write this as well. Area equals base times height. And I drew a little parallelogram there too to remember that's what we're finding the area of. And then I have to remember that base and height have to be perpendicular. So what I always do is I search for my right angle symbol. It's right here. And I look at what two lines does that touch? Well, it touches this line right here, the 17 centimeters, which is a side of our parallelogram. And it also touches this dashed line that goes to the opposite side. That means the 17 centimeters is our base and the 12 centimeters is our height. So over here in our formula, I'm going to rewrite 17 where the B is times 12 for the H. 17 times 12. Now I just have to solve that. So over on the side, I'm going to do it right here. You should be doing it as well. So I'm going to write 17 times 12. 2 times 7 is 14. Carry your 1. Keep your 4 in the ones place. 2 times 1 is 2. Plus 1 is 3. And then I move on to my tens place, which means I need to put a 0 right here in my ones place. 1 times 7 is 7. 1 times 1 is 1. And now I need to add these two partial products to get together to get 204. So when I did 17 times 12, I got 204. When I write it over here for my final answer, I need to make sure that I'm putting 204 centimeters squared. So you put that little 2 there to say that's how many centimeter squares would fit inside this parallelogram. So go ahead and draw your horizontal line. And now we're going to do another example. This one's a little bit different. So I want you to pause the video and take your time to draw this irregular shape and label all of the things that you see before I show you how to work it out in your notebook. Okay, now that you have it written, you're probably going to see this kind of looks like two rectangles put together. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to split it into two rectangles because I know how to find the area of a rectangle. So right here, I'm going to draw a dashed line to kind of cut this into two different rectangles. And then I need to make sure I have the measurements, the base and the height of each of those rectangles. Well, if I look at this big rectangle at the top, I can see 6 and 4. My base is 6, my height is 4. When I look at this rectangle, I only see the height of 3. But I can figure out the base right here because the total distance would be 6 centimeters. And all we're doing is taking off this 2 centimeters right here. So to find the base right here, I'm typing 6 minus 2 equals 4 centimeters. So now I know the base of this bottom rectangle is 4. So you make sure you have that written as well. Then to find the area, I know that the formula for area of a rectangle is base times height. So I'm going to do the top rectangle first. 6 times 4, base times height, which is 24. And then I'm going to find the area of the bottom rectangle. Again, base times height, so 4 times 3, which is 12. To find the area of the entire shape, I need to add those two areas together. 24 plus 12 is 36. The area of this entire shape is 36 centimeters squared. Make sure you have those done in your notebook because remember, you're going to have to take a picture of your work for the very first slide when you open your slides today. And then you're going to have slides just like these where you are finding the area of a parallelogram or sometimes finding the area of an irregular shape like this.